ready. They're ready at dawn. They're ready at high noon.
And they're
Any time
ready
of day you need finger pistols.
for whoever has clicked on this stream right off the top. Welcome to the secret pre-stream just for the hardcore lie fans, um, where we wait for Amanda. But in the meantime, you get a little private podcast with just Anthony and Kurt. Um, welcome. Welcome all people who have, watching the VOD, coming early. Kurt, what does this Monday evening feel like for you? What color
This
is
Monday
it?
evening, what color is it?
Yeah.
Oh, kind of lavender. In
Okay.
fact, just to drive that point home, I am in fact going to be drinking a lavender and lemon peel tea. I have a
Lavender and
little,
lemon peel. Mmm.
yes, and you might be thinking, and tea? No.
No tea involved.
The whole infusion is lavender petals and lemon peels, and it makes me feel like a little fairy. The only reason that it ever came to pass is because I have all this lavender, and I don't know if anybody else has ever like worked with lavender in a culinary capacity, but lavender is very potent stuff. And as such, there aren't very many applications where it makes sense to have lavender. It's mostly kind of like, oh, this is a lot. This is too much, even. And I wanted to figure out, I had this quest a few years back. I was like, I'm going to finish all my teas that are kicking around my cupboard, and then I will have like karmically balanced, I'll have moved on to another part of my life.
And like fresh start, new
Fresh
teas
start.
without guilt.
Without guilt, without a cupboard full of teas, and me looking at them going, I really should have finished these teas. Um, so on that quest, I was like, how can I drink all this lavender? And the answer was I managed to figure out you can peel some lime peels into your infusion. And then there's kind of a base note. Because lavender by itself doesn't have much body to it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind of a treble clef only, very high treble clef. It's like listening to a glockenspiel only.
yeah.
Whereas if I could listen to, let's say, a glockenspiel plus like slap bass duo, that would be great.
Hello, Otto in chat, by the way. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, Otto in chat, by the way.
I think Amanda's online right now. Is she? Did we check? Otto says that
She
maybe.
was earlier.
Okay.
If she's not online, she says, okay, give me a minute to play a couple matches,
Okay.
and I'll be there.
Good, good, good.
Good, good,
That's
good.
a good sign. Do you? I think I don't like lavender. It's something I feel shameful about. But the actual, even the smell, is too much for me. I know it's beautiful. It's objectively beautiful, but it's subjectively like it's cloying.
It is cloying. It's a lot. It's,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of floral anything can be overpowering in a culinary context. Rose water, very powerful stuff. Orange blossom water, very powerful stuff. I recently picked up some Kiora flower.
What's that?
Oh, it's nice. It's cool. Kiora flowers are mostly associated with like Indian cuisine, desserts, especially not much not dessert, and fragrances. I first encountered it. There was a convenience store that was on the corner of a couple main streets near where I still live today, and they were this sort of like Indian grocer also, and they sold these popsicles that were flavored with Kyoto flower.
Okay.
And oh my gosh, they were nice. They were nice.
Hmm.
I thought about it for years, and one day I walked into the local importer, which was like a 50-year-old business at that point, and one of the employees had like walked down to the storeroom and was just like, "Hey, that's old stuff here," and had brought upstairs like this Kyoto flower extract that was like God knows how old. So
Whoa.
it was there. I bought it and I had it for a while, and I was like, "Well, I certainly can't use this for anything." And then just the other day, when I was restocking my supply of spices and tricks at a local Indian grocer, not either of the establishments already mentioned in this story, I noticed that they had a bottle of Kyoto flower extract. And
Whoa.
12 years from now, when I get to the bottom of it, I will tell you how that went.
You have to wait the entire time?
I just like you use like 7 drops in a cocktail, maybe
Okay.
less. No one's making cocktails with this, by the way.
Okay.
That's my big plan, but
What
that's
are other
not
people
like
using it for?
what are people using it for? Well, like I said, you can make desserts with it.
Right.
Let's find out.
Let's find out.
Let's find out. Skin creams, fragrances. I mean, fragrances, and obviously you would use it as a fragrance in this skin cream.
And how would you characterize the scent of Cura flower?
Floral. Um,
Whoa, that's
I'm
blowing my mind.
sorry. It's floral. It's quite strong. So if you get a whiff of it and you're not like smelling it directly, it'll
Mm.
smell just kind of like a powerful sort of almost like a marker kind of scent. But then if you're actually smelling it more closely, I think it's got all these beautiful notes of unidentifiable, almost sweetness. It's not a sweet thing, but it's got that sort of brightness to it.
Hmm.
It's very hard to describe smells.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, it's distilled from a screw pine.
What?
Yeah, a screw pine.
Wait, so it's not a. It's a pine flower?
Yeah.
Oh, screw pine. Oh, it doesn't look the way I thought it was going to look. It looks more like a palm tree.
Yes, yeah. I'm not sure how it gets its name.
Okay. Interesting. Is that also the scent of this Monday evening?
No,
Hmm.
no, because I didn't put any in my tea. I'm afraid of it. It's too powerful for me.
It's too
There's this
powerful.
there's this ancient YouTube video where this person is playing with like a filter for their video camera that would have come built in with webcam software in like 2011 or whatever.
Sure.
Uh, and he'll shift forward and say, "Potion seller, I need your strongest potions." And his jaw becomes enormous, and then he'll like move somewhere else on the screen, and the warping effect will be somewhere else on his face, and now he's the potion seller, and he'll say, "Ah, you can't handle my strongest potions, knight." And every time I do a voice in an RPG, I just think of that man and his 2 characters that said the same 2 things back and forth for like a full 5-minute video, and it's the best thing you've ever seen in your life.
That's some old YouTube shit.
It's some old YouTube shit. Not YouTube poop,
No,
which is a different thing
that
entirely.
is a completely distinctive concept.
Yeah.
Hmm.
One thing that I just learned today is that apparently Kyoto flower is from the male flowers.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Why? I don't know. Why? I don't know.
Do you know one of the reasons that people have such problems with pollen allergies is that we overused male trees on streets, like if you like for landscaping, because they don't create like fruit, which is oftentimes good because depending on the fruit, it can fall over all over the sidewalks and whatever. But then there's a lot of pollen in the air. Something we had some control over.
Hmm. Interesting. I had never thought about that. Yeah, flowers are confusing. A
Do you,
while back, sorry?
oh, never mind. I was just gonna ask if you knew what ginkgo trees were. It's my other
I
favorite
do. I
discussion.
do know about ginkgo trees, but what are you going to tell me about them? Because they fascinate me.
Okay, so ginkgo trees they've got yeah they're super prehistoric, like they've been around for like thousands and thousands of years. They're like one of the oldest plants that still exists in its same form. But okay, also they smell really bad, so they like uh, it is the fruits, yeah. So I think when they're fruiting, the fruit smells awful. Um, and one of the reasons that you're supposed to use ginkgo trees for landscaping is that like they're pretty hardy, but also if you only plant the male trees, then there's no fruits, and it's like they're great and you have a lovely time. But if you accidentally plant the female trees, then you get these fruits. And so like all landscaping companies were supposed to plant the male trees. So wherever you see the female ginkgo trees with fruit was like a hilarious failure that nobody could have caught except for years and years later, because it's very hard to tell otherwise whether they're male or female. And that always delights me, is that it's like some landscaper somewhere was like, haha, got you.
That's so funny. And there's so much about trees as we grow them as a like a horticultural product that's like weird and difficult and kind of hacky. Like, did you know, you probably do know this because you've been like a garden person, but apple trees aren't grown from seed. Like if you want a nice apple,
Yeah,
you don't grow it from seed. You
you
can
can't.
grow an apple from seed, but it's
Sure.
not going to be good
Yeah.
because it's going to be a crab apple, essentially. Apple cultivars that are pleasant are essentially, as I understand it, a very recessive uh, type
Yeah.
of the tree. And so if you have a tree that you want to make nice apples, you need it to be like grafted onto a tree. You don't, it's not from seed. So Johnny Appleseed, famously, a real person, by the way,
True.
distributing seeds all across the states in early American history, was mostly helping people make land claims. Because if you had like crops growing
Huh.
in an area, you could say that you'd settled it. That was part of the deal. They were trying to like move across the land and, ruin a bunch of indigenous cultures and whatever else they were doing in the
Obviously.
United States. Uh,
Wait. So if you planted the apple tree somewhere, you could then say, "This is my land because I technically have a crop here, even though maybe a useless crop." Is that the idea?
that is my understanding.
I guess you can use
Basically,
crab
it
apples
wouldn't be
for
useless. Say
apple
it.
cider, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Alcohol. That's
Cider
what we really
making,
want.
cider making totally viable. Plenty of market for cider, both at the time and today, obviously. I think it was maybe even more widely consumed at the time. Um, yeah, so it's interesting because it was also the basis for a uniquely specific liquor that's not really produced anymore, which is called Applejack. If you
Right.
ever
I've
heard of Applejack,
heard of
Applejack,
this.
Applejack is from apple cider, and originally it would be. Now, I hope we don't get demonetized for my use of this verb. It would be produced by jacking, in which cider is frozen, and
Okay.
then essentially you would remove the frozen part because that's the part that wasn't
Alcohol.
alcoholic.
Right.
Right. However,
Huh.
the reason that we don't do this anymore is that in addition to removing the non-alcohol parts, you also concentrated a certain set of impurities that would make it actually like quite bad for your health.
Like
Um,
cyanide, like in the apple seeds, bad, or like
I don't think it was cyanide because
okay.
cyanide is an acute effect.
Yes.
I had to look this up when I thought I had cyanide poisoning a few years ago.
Oh,
Cyanide is not bioaccumulative. So if something bad happens to you because of cyanide, it's like if you live, you're good, basically, as I understand it. Um, don't eat cyanide, folks.
is it methanol? Is that what it is?
I am
Potentially,
currently
because
checking.
ethanol is the good one. But methanol is like wood alcohol, right?
So that's what I wanted to say, and I do still think that may be the case. Oh. Okay. Freezing fermented cider, removing the ice, increasing the alcohol content. Ciders produced after the fall harvest were left outside during the winter. Periodically, the frozen chunks of ice that had formed were removed, thus concentrating unfrozen alcohol in the remaining liquid. Because freeze distillation is a low infrastructure method of production compared to evaporative distillation and does not require the burning of firewood to create heat, hard cider and applejack were both historically easier to produce, though more expensive than grain alcohol. Here we are, finally. The disadvantage of freeze distillation, also called fractional crystallization,
Okay.
that is a beautiful series of words, is that the substances remaining after the removal of the water include not only ethanol, but also harmful methanol,
Okay.
esters, aldehydes, and fusel alcohols.
All of the fun stuff.
All the fun stuff.
Huh.
Hmm.
That's very interesting. So we don't make Applejack anymore. It's not sold.
The way we would make it contemporarily would not involve the freezing method. You can still distill apple in apple products into something more concentrated.
Hmm.
But I think we would call it an apple brandy these days because any a brandy is just a
A
wine
wine
that's been distilled,
distilled. Yeah. Okay.
essentially.
I see. Interesting. That's the same way they used to make maple syrup. That you would freeze overnight and then take out the water, and the sugars wouldn't freeze, so you could take the maple sap down to syrup. Which I only mentioned because, of course, it's just the two of us. We've got to get in every fact we have about syrup. And okay, one thing I wondered, and I just, if you're in chat and you have any answers, I always felt like as far as I know, there's not a lot of like at least Canadian Indigenous or North American Indigenous alcohols. I've never heard of them. I've gone looking because I was kind of curious what like our fermentation culture was like in this continent. But I mean, there probably are some, but they're just not well documented. But now it strikes me that I wonder whether there was jacking going on as well. Because you should be able to make maple syrup alcohol. This is the final step of my thought process.
Ah,
It's like you should be able to ferment it, right?
surely, right? That actually, like, if you must be able to, because otherwise, now I'm really Googling. Whoops,
Like
accidentally taking a
maple syrup
screenshot.
wine. Oh, screenshot. Everybody say hi to Kurt's screenshots.
Everybody say hi.
Maple syrup wine, is that a thing?
Yeah, looks like it is. I really didn't think that I would get any results from this. I thought I'd get like maple flavored vodka,
Yeah.
and I'd be mad.
Whoa, okay, this Reddit post says that straight maple syrup wine is kind of dry and tastes mostly like wood.
I want some.
What? Wood wine? I mean, it makes sense. It is wood juice, so I suppose I should expect. Um, that's cool.
Huh.
Has anybody
You know, it
had maple
seems like
wine?
you actually, so you can in Canada, but especially it seems in Quebec, you can buy maple spirit beverage. In Quebec, it would be referred to as uh, eau de vie d'érable.
Eau de vie d'érable.
Eau
So
de vie
that's
d'érable.
that's
Yeah.
wine, or that's a spirit that's made from the wine? Because eau de vie sort of strikes me as like that should be a spirit, I would
Well, it would
guess.
be 40%, so that would be a
Oh, so it is a
spirit.
spirit. Okay, okay. So it's
Yeah.
not the wine straight.
Well, I'm looking at the same time to see if there are maple wines
Huh.
because obviously now that we're talking about it, I'm like, I want some.
I know. I want some too. Should we do a maple wine stream? I guess that's not very monetizable.
And all we care about is the money. We're in this for the money.
Yeah, it's less the monetization that's a problem and more the do we get kicked off the platform? I don't know.
Fair enough. Also, Otto, I feel ya. I also prefer to be at home with creature comforts with the beverages, but I am a fancy boy, and so I like to make fancy business. I like to experiment with this and that.
He is a fancy little boy. It's true. You should, I mean, you probably don't have the opportunity, but if you did have the opportunity, going to Kurt's house and having him make you a drink, it's truly a lovely experience.
I can do it whenever I want, but I
Yeah, you
don't.
can.
One of those classic adult things where now that you're a grown up, you can choose to do whatever you want, but you simply can't have a lovely set of cocktails every night, or your life is worse in the grand scheme.
Weird.
Alas, so it goes.
Hello, Tully, by the way. Thanks for joining us over on YouTube.
Hello, Tully.
You think we should have put ourselves in the Twitch category of just chatting? Are we just the weirdest RPG stream right now?
I think we'll get there. I think we'll get there. Tonight's a nice chill night because our schedule, as it were, is going to be very chill. We're just going to be playing a few games that you can pop into at the Victorian parlor and then pop out of. I don't want to spoil too much because I don't think Amanda even really knows what we're doing yet, but I'm quite pleased.
Quite pleased. Yeah, I'm excited.
Quite pleased.
I think we've got a couple games probably in store today, more than one perhaps, which is
That's the dream.
very exciting. Not something we normally do, and oftentimes for the title of these things, I'll say one shot because I'm usually pretty hopeful. It's supposed to be a one shot, but like half the time it's not a one shot these days. But this time I feel pretty confident it's going to be a one shot.
I think you're right.
Maybe like a half
And
shot. Is that
yeah,
possible?
yeah, a few half shots. Well, a few one shots, I guess, really, because it'll
Yeah,
be
no,
like boom,
right,
boom, boom, you know?
right. uh, Otto is saying that the last stream we did really livened his imagination, brought it to life. Yeah, me too. That was really cool. It was a good game.
Was that Bleak Spirit,
That
my
was
most
Bleak
recent
Spirit.
one?
Yeah.
That was good. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
I yeah, that one did some interesting things. That one kind of tickled the brain. I any game that makes me sort of have to resist my initial impulses and sort of approach it in a different way is interesting. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I, I,
I spoke with the designer after the fact.
okay. How would that go?
It went well. Yeah. He was quite gracious, nice. Said if you're interested in other games that Galen, the artist, and I have made together, keep an eye out for Thread Cutters,
Oh,
which involves a tarot deck,
thread.
completely different from Bleak Thread Cutters. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Cool.
yeah,
That looks neat.
it's been very interesting learning. Every time I learn about like a body of work that someone's done,
Yeah.
that's neat.
Very cool.
I once had the unique oddity of watching someone go through everything I had made and just kind of.
Were they reviewing about it, posting about it somewhere?
So I was going to be doing a live stream with this person. This was
Okay.
for the release of Here We Used to Fly.
Sure.
And he
That's
just did a
Kurt's
stream.
amusement park game, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. Useful context. Your kids at a theme park having a normal, fun theme park time, and then it flashes forward in time to when you're adults exploring its abandoned grounds. Apparently, it's been enough time since I've released it that I now can't say the phrase that I've probably said 500 times while promoting that game.
Yeah, true.
Anyway, so he goes online and he goes to my itch.io page. He's like just like live streaming casually, goes to my itch.io page and just like muses aloud about everything that I had uploaded to that date, including going to my like Twitter account and being like, "Oh, that's interesting. You don't usually see people who have more followers than the people that they've followed." And I was like thinking to myself, I was watching because
Yeah,
I'm gonna watch somebody create my own stuff. Why not?
obviously.
That's fun. And really odd seeing someone's unfiltered take just on your online presence and body of work.
That's wild.
Yeah, it wasn't for me. It was just like, oh, interesting. Interesting.
Hmm.
Because then I knew like, oh, what happens when someone looks at my work?
That's very cool. That's very cool. I think the thing that really strikes me about the game we played last week with Bleak Spirit was like we did that thing where we had sort of dramatic irony from each other, right? That we told the people watching what we were each thinking, but we didn't tell each other. Uh, right? That's the right game. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's been 2 weeks. And I just like I thought that was so fun. Like I didn't even get to see it, but it just seemed exciting for people to get to like piece together all of our different motivations. And I think it's such a unique, like if you're not doing a let's play, right? Like if you're not doing something live, there's no that mechanic doesn't make any sense, right? Like there's no one to tell, so there's doesn't matter. But for our particular little version of playing a game, very cool, exciting even for me, a player who it didn't technically change my experience at all, right? Like I didn't know anything more or less, and yet the fact that other people had been told made it way more exciting for me. And so I've been thinking about like it's such a niche design space, but it makes me want to design more games where there is some form of dramatic irony with the audience. That'd be cool.
It's a neat thought.
Hmm.
It's a neat thought. I've got a friend, Sam Dunawald, does a beautiful little podcast called Dice Exploder, and Sam's done
Hmm.
some really remarkable things recently, including something that is the closest point to like a halfway between an actual play, because it is sort of a game reflection. It's a report of a play experience. And on the other side, like an NPR style memoir, talking about so this written, recorded, edited, carefully edited, beautifully polished podcast is a scripted work in which the experience of play is carefully wedded to the context it was played in, the game itself. Sam waxed about the thought that you need three things to be cared about for a story about somebody's character, somebody's game to be interesting. And those are never all present, which is why it's famously boring to hear about someone's character they made in a game.
Right.
One is you need to care about the game,
Okay.
one is you need to care about the people, and one is that you need to care about like the story within it. Otto, yeah, have a great episode of Gilmore Girls.
Enjoy Gilmore
Clearly,
Girls.
we're not even doing anything yet. Apologies to anybody who's watching this VOD and decided not to skip ahead. If you're still waiting for the thing to start, feel free to drag that cursor forward until you reach a point where you see three screens instead of two, because that's when we actually play. We should probably lead with that every time.
That's smart.
Um,
That's smart.
Amanda will join us soon. Anyway, yeah, Dice Exploder, really cool. Would recommend looking up Dice Exploder After Image, which is that sub podcast in which Sam has made these beautiful play reflections. Why did I bring Sam up? I
Um.
brought Sam up because Sam has been exploring actual play in his most recent season of Dice Exploder, which takes apart game mechanics, talks about how they work, and he's about to get into a season in which they explore like what actual play means, what mechanics are involved in it, what it portends.
It's cool.
And I'm very excited to hear Sam's thoughts on that, especially since Sam, like me, and I know this is a grand irony for any listeners out there, is not a huge fan of actual play as a general rule.
Yes. Can you imagine?
Weird, right? I do this every week, folks.
Yeah. Kurt doesn't like actual plays. Doesn't like the most popular RPG of all time. Um, and yet here he
Yeah.
is, an actual player of RPGs.
Actually playing.
Well, not right now.
That is true. That is true.
Actually
Actually, not at
threatening
all
to
right now.
play. Yeah.
Yeah, carefully threatening. Part of me almost wants to just read out one of these games that we may or may not be playing
Oh,
because
a little
it's
preview? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you want to get some context on what kind of games these are?
I can do that. That's maybe the best way to do this. So, what will I not have to repeat when Amanda arrives? Essentially, there was a whole movement of many of you may be aware of the fact that role-playing games canonically began, as we understand them, from wargaming. So,
Mm,
in the 1960s, there emerged a subset of war games, particularly the early 70s, a subset of war games called role-playing games. And at the start, Dungeons and Dragons and its contemporaries didn't necessarily use that term, but it was to the start. 1973, we saw the first use of the term role-playing. It was actually in a Tolkien RPG. This wasn't the first use of that ever, but it was the first use of that within that exact context of games which evolved from combat simulations to instead be about a singular character. Because
right.
that's how we got to role-playing games as we understand them. It was these vast armies that were going on war campaigns. That's why it's called a campaign. And then that got transitioned into this world of fantasy in which you are one character. And for all intents and purposes, that's often the end of discussion. We simply say role-playing games came from war games that came before them, and then that's eventually how we got here today. But it's not as simple as that, because there have been storytelling games that have been told for a very long time, and certainly improv and friendly play amongst friends is not new at all. So today, we're actually going to be exploring some games that came from the early 19th century. I'm talking Regency era. I'm talking 1812. And that's super exciting to me because I've been thinking about these games for a long time and I've never had occasion to play them. There's little pieces of play culture embedded into it
Okay.
that you might not have we no longer have,
Oh,
right? Um, I will talk more about that when we get to the actual games from 1812, 1830, 1818.
interesting.
But yeah, there's parlor games, they would be called at the time. Sometimes people call them Victorian parlor games. In this case, we're actually predating the Victorian era just by a little bit. We're in the Regency era. Victorian era is like 1830 something
We're
until,
in the getting rated era right now. Is what we're getting. What era we're in?
well, that's
Welcome
enough
everybody.
words from me then. Hi, folks.
Hey
Welcome
Rapala.
to
Hey
the
Amanda.
stream.
Welcome.
Welcome from the stream as well.
Yeah. I hear there was some playing. People were playing with Amanda. I didn't actually watch it, but sounds exciting.
Yeah, we were busy.
Talking about Regency era games
It's true. That's
and
what we were doing.
maple syrup wine. Hello, Marvel Man, Jamie, Peppermint. Welcome, Lock the Fox, Matt.
Hi, Rapala. Hi, Matt.
Come on in.
Come on in. Make yourself at home. Take off your shoes. We're both in Canada. That's what you do here.
That is what you do here. I'm so excited to see you all, but I realize I've just got excited because it means that in a second Amanda will be here. You were all the harbingers of Amanda. You were the little trumpet trill.
Nice work knowing the structure of the word I thought it was harbingers maybe, but it's better than harbingers,
yeah.
which I only hear.
I think it's harbingers. Is the correct pronunciation. I did it wrong.
For a long time though, I thought it was
Harbingers.
harbingers.
I mean, it feels like it should be harbingers, right? Because they are literally bringing something. It just seems that that is correct, but harbingers, I think, is correct.
Now you got to wonder if that came from the same root as bring, and it just sort of, did its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to find out now because that's the sort of person I am. Anthony's going to check to see when our friend is arriving on stream, and I'm going to look up the word definition
That's
origin.
right, and
Aha!
she is here. Boop ba boo.
Hello, everyone.
Grand reveal. Hello, everybody.
hello.
We're here.
Look at you and your spectacles.
Thanks.
Yeah, like this.
They're my wheel redemption. They're my blue screens, and so if we spin them on the wheel, I put my blue screens on for a bit. But I'm kind of digging them with our look today for our game that we're gonna play. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for your patience with me. I'm sorry that I am later than usual.
Say okay.
It was a crazy stream.
Crazy in a
Crazy
good
stream.
way.
It was just so normally you guys know I multi-stream and I stream on Twitch and YouTube. Today, Streamlabs just said no. It was no, it's not happening.
Really?
I don't know if it's Streamlabs or YouTube, but it just wouldn't let me stream. So I had to stream on one, and anyways, it was a whole thing.
Oh.
But it was a great stream. It was a great stream,
Great.
but just shorter
Great.
than normal.
Well, when we tried to get on here, the multi-stream service for a second seemed like it wasn't playing along. So maybe maybe it's not your fault. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. So you guys also, but did you get it up and running? Are we also on YouTube?
Yes, we are on YouTube.
Okay, cool. Oh, I see us actually. We're on my homepage.
Oh, wow. Look at us.
Wow.
You must be
Well,
a big
Thank you,
fan.
algorithm.
Yeah. I'm glad that the stream fixed itself and that the Streamlabs or YouTube or whatever was going wrong figured its stuff out. I felt bad. I posted on YouTube and was like, "Hey guys, so normally I'm also here, but I'm only on Twitch today. So if you want to come over to Twitch, that's where I'll be at." And some of our lovely folks spent 30 minutes trying to get into their Twitch because they were like, "I forget my password."
Oh
no! So, but that's fine. It was exciting.
Very exciting.
Right.
And what's even more exciting is now we're all here, and we're gonna play a Reversal of Fortune and maybe a couple of other games tonight on Lies You'll Enjoy, our weekly-ish series where we play tabletop role-playing games, choose-your-own-adventure games. We tell all manner of lies, pretending to be people we're not, saying things we'd never say, in creating worlds that don't exist. You can't trust us on anything. But we have a lot of fun when we're doing it, and we hope you do as well. Uh, let's introduce ourselves, just for anybody new, just to know who we are.
As we do.
I am Anthony, as you can see down there, and my real life, I'm an economist. Boring. I also read kids' books. More interesting. And I've been playing role-playing games for my whole life, basically. Love storytelling. Love storytelling games. And excited to be playing with these two right here. That brings us down to this guy over here. Who are you?
Wow, it's me. I'm the one who's on the bottom. Hi, folks. My name is Kurt. I am a role-playing game designer and also just someone who likes role-playing games a lot. I am very lucky to get to play every Monday with my two friends, Anthony and Amanda. And today we're doing a tiny little game.
So
I've got a physical
small.
copy. I'll talk a little bit
Wow.
more about that in a second. But
So
yes, my name is
tiny.
Kurt. Hello, it's so nice to meet you or to see you again. But at last, we have one more member of our brigade, as it were, Amanda.
Hello, it's me, Amanda. I am a variety streamer, a YouTuber, a cosplayer, an actor. I have loved storytelling, I don't know, ever since I came into existence, I
Woof.
think. And so I think role-playing games are some of my favorite ways to explore storytelling because we get to make our own story, which is very exciting and fun. And I couldn't be doing it with better folks. I'm really excited to be here today, and thank you everybody that joined us with the raid. I appreciate you all so much, and I can't wait for you guys to enjoy whatever lie we're gonna cook up today. Hopefully some good ones.
Hopefully
And I
some good
Yeah,
ones.
suppose, without further ado, here's a little bit more ado. We're going to talk about this game. Today, we're going to be playing a tiny, tiny game called A Reversal of, in fact, it's singular, Fortune. I told you all on the overlay that it's plural, but you know what? We're all going to make mistakes today.
Wait,
And you're
Kurt,
going to hear.
is the word actually the beginning of it? I think we've named this game several different things in our various
Oh, it's in
promotional
fact
material.
not. No, there's
Okay.
no either.
No,
No.
Kurt has no idea what this game is called. He's just finding out about it right now.
Look, folks,
it's
I
called.
only learned English just today, just for you for this. Before
Well, you're
that,
very. I feel like it's very good
Yeah, you're
considering
doing
you just
well.
learned it.
Yeah,
You're doing great.
yeah.
pardon?
Oh,
Sorry, I haven't learned the listening part yet. I can
Okay.
only do the
Hey,
talking
that
part.
actually explains so much.
Yeah, no, I thought it might. I thought it might. Yeah. So, I mean,
So
other
it's
than this, je parle français
reversal
et ça c'est
of
bon.
fortune.
Ça c'est ma langue maternelle, mais
Ooh.
maintenant je parle anglais pour tous les gens ici.
This is a very slight hate crime. Um,
But only very slight.
very slight. Tell
You
us
should
about this
all
game.
only a little bit hate it. Tonight, we're playing Reversal of Fortune, bracket, The Old Man and His Horse, close bracket.
Okay.
It's a game that needs only our voices and the desire to make bad things happen to imaginary people. This is going to be pretty freaking simple, folks, based on a parable of the old man and his horse. Essentially, it works like this. There's a wise old farmer. His prized horse runs away. His horse finds his way back and brings along other horses. Well, the farmer's only son falls and breaks his legs while attempting to tame one of the horses. Oh.
Oh.
War breaks out, but the farmer's son is too injured to be drafted and so escapes near certain death. Wow.
Yay!
In Reversal of Fortune, we're going to tell a story in a similar format. We are going to be adding a little next bit of the story, and then something is going to be
Reversal.
good and be bad, be good and be bad. We're just going to turn around a piece of fortune every turn. An event takes place that's a direct result of the last one, but with the opposite fortune. Each turn ends with the phrase, "Who can know what luck this brings?" or whatever paraphrasing suits our story. But I do like that one. And also, it's kind of fun for the character's peers to praise the character's good luck or pity the character's bad luck. You know, just a bit of a ritual, like, what a shame. That's honestly pretty much the rules of this game. I'm just
Wow.
going to really briefly say my favorite thing about this. There's so many favorite things that I have about this. Every year at Breakout Con, there's some nice little, which is a lovely convention that happens in Toronto for all kinds of tabletop games. If you act as a game master, you can get a little treat for you. There's a table with a bunch of games that people have kindly left for anyone who would like them as a sort of donation. And I looked at the table of many things and I said, look at this tiny game printed on one sheet. This is the one for me. This is what I need. I don't need this beautiful bestiary.
Just this.
I need just this. Very fortunate man. And on the back of this, it says, really the best sequence of words I've ever read in a role-playing game, which is, I used to play this game with someone I was in love with, but we are not in love anymore. Boo-hoo. And so,
Pretty good.
you might be wondering, Kurt, if this game was made contemporaneously, why does your stream say, and a selection of 200-year-old storytelling games? The reason for that is that this game is exceptionally similar to the parlor games that would have been played in the 1800s. And so, as a treat, after this, we will be exploring some of those as well.
I'm so excited.
Fun.
So, now that we are all on board and understand how it works, I suppose it's time for one of us to set a state, as it were. Now, there are some alternate versions. Should I propose them to you, or shall we play exactly as stated?
Let's start with exactly as stated, but I anticipate we might want a round 2, in which case, alternate versions ahoy.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I have no idea how long it'll last. We'll find out.
Yeah. Or if, like, while we're partway through, if you feel like there would be a good opportunity to introduce perhaps some alternate rules while we play, I'm also down for that, if that suits.
Great.
Cool.
Makes sense to me.
Sweet. Okay. Well, this is exciting. We need someone to go first who will invent a character and a setting, and then someone to go second and begin the cycle of fortune and misfortune. Does anybody want to go first?
I've wrought this upon you, so I suppose I will begin by inventing a character and a setting. I see. I'll invent a character and a setting. Whoever goes second, which I guess is Anthony, because that's how our clockwise system works. Anthony is going to decide something about the character's life that makes them lucky, blessed, or fortunate. And then Amanda will drag it down. And
Okay.
we'll keep going from there. So, there's this primeval wood. Stretches out in all directions. And at the very peak of a hilltop lives a man and his... No, I think lives a woman and her goat. Each has half of this cabin to themselves. The goat's half, of course, is full of straw and hay, and the woman's half is full of the sorts of things that you would have living in a cabin. A bed, a cabinet, a set of curios that she keeps. And I will stop there because I've said words.
My turn.
Nope,
Oh,
not
sorry.
you.
I thought we were going the other way. Sorry. I always want to go counter.
Oh, you're just so countercultural. That's what
I
we love
know,
about you,
I'm the
Amanda.
opposite.
Yeah, just a free thinker. The woman and her goat, on one of their daily walks into the deep primordial woods, stumbled into a clearing they'd never encountered before. The goat leading the way, nibbling here and there on new growth. And in the center of this clearing, a beautiful apple tree. Each apple golden. Looks so delectable. And as the woman bites into the apple, it is the most beautiful tasting, most delicious apple that she has ever tasted and that has ever been tasted. She quickly gathers an armful and brings them back to her cottage.
Okay. Little did she know that the apples belonged to a warlock, and if they were to be taken out of the woods, would cause a curse to fall upon whoever had procured them. And as she got back to her cottage, she saw that it was ablaze. Smoke spilling forth into the road. She smelt it before she saw it, and everything that she had ever owned was in that cottage.
As the smoke cleared, The woman stepped into the cottage, coughing, looking desperate to find and make sure that her goat was okay. And in fact, all the fire had done, blazing through this cottage, was remove the possessions that the goat never wanted anyway. That flammable straw was never as good as the woman's half of the cottage. And so through this experience, the goat now cuddles up in bed with the woman every night, and they are just so pleased to have each other's company strengthened.
uh, Excellent. A beautiful friendship, relationship brought even closer. But while goats are wonderful companions, they are not always good bedfellows. The poor woman, on her next walk down to the golden tree, began to itch her skin. Oh dear, she has fleas, and the bad kind.
Not the good kind.
Fortunately, as she itched fervently. Was she in the woods again? Is that where we
Yeah,
said she was?
yeah, but you can take her anywhere you want.
Wandering through the woods, she did see a sign for a circus was in town. And while
Circus.
these may have been the bad kind of fleas on her, she, in her disgruntled nature here, just itching relentlessly, decided that she should try to distract herself. So she went to the circus, and while there, she met the ringmaster, who said to her that, well, her fleas may be bothersome, they actually seemed to be quite talented, as he could see how high they were jumping. And so he offered to her to take the fleas off of her hands and feet and entire body, since they could be trained in the circus. In fact, he even said that if she allowed this, she could get some royalties for their performance.
Wow. Rich on fleas.
And so the woman and goat began traveling with the circus. However, it's one thing to be the donor of the fleas. It's another thing entirely to have people approach you day after day and say, look, it's one of those circus freaks. This did a great deal of damage to her self-esteem, and honestly, it's hard to come back from that.
It's true.
It's true. It's true. She couldn't take it anymore, and in some far-flung city, after a particularly embarrassing barrage of insults from the visitors of the circus, she quit. Went out into the streets all by herself, and
Wait, what about the goat? Is the goat still with her?
the goat came with her, obviously.
Oh, okay.
Obviously.
I was worried.
Her and her goat wandering through the streets, but then, you see, she had nothing to her name, and she was hungry, so she brought out one of her last apples that she had kept with her all this time, and she took a bite, and a passing gentleman stopped her. Are those the Warlock's golden apples? I'll pay you $1 million to get all of them off your hands. I want to start a farm.
And while she sold the apples to the gentleman who started his farm and was successful, she then realized through this extreme procurement of wealth that she really had nothing that she had earned in her life at this point. I mean, sure, she had this money. Sure, she went and toured with the circus for a few years with the fleas, but she didn't feel fulfilled in life. In fact, the wealth that surrounded her and all the items and her new home and her fancy goat bed and crown for her goat did not bring her any joy. In fact, when she looked at the goat, not only did she not recognize herself, but she didn't recognize the goat anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Goat had been corrupted by money.
It happens to us all.
Hard to recover from that tragedy. Wow. It's really stunning, honestly. I think before I continue, I do need to know what the worst thing that she spent the money on was.
I think the worst thing she spent the money on was a very lavish bookshelf. But when she acquired the bookshelf, she realized that she had no books with her. She bought the bookshelf thinking about all the books that had burnt up in the cottage. The goat used to love the books, you see, so she hadn't thought of them in such a long time that she'd completely forgotten that they were gone. And now she has a bookshelf that is completely empty. Kind of a symbol, I feel like, for where she feels like her life is at this point. So it just haunted her even more. The symbolism of an empty bookshelf, like her life was empty.
Sitting in her empty, opulent home, the woman mourns the idea of the person she was before all this changed her and Goat. Uh, and one day, I think over time, she's moved. She's moved out of the woods at this point. You can't have a manor in the woods. Never happens. She's in the town, and a charlatan comes to town and distributes a piece of paper to everyone, peddling the snake oils of his wares. Goes from house to house, snickering. Hee 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 hee. But that doesn't turn people off. They see it and they want that snake oil. They need it. She gets a piece of paper delivered to her, and it's been so long since she's read any books. She's got such an empty bookshelf that she doesn't even read the advertisement for the snake oil. So everybody else gets suckered in town. They end up drinking something really gross. Snake oil is gross, right? It's literal snake oil. Oh, it doesn't do anything, and they have to drink snake oil. It tastes really gross. She doesn't have to do it at all. She doesn't go, doesn't get suckered. Everybody else is complaining about it. Not her. No, ma'am. She's safe.
Well, snake oil salesman leaves town, as snake oil salesmen are wont to do. But the poor populace of this town were left with the side effects, after effects, churning stomachs, long days in bed, a veritable plague that passed through the town, and everyone caught it. Well, except for one. Did she curse us? Is she a witch? I heard she used to live in a small cottage out in the woods, all by herself, with only a goat for company. I heard she had magic apples, created by a dark god. That's where her money comes from, and it all makes sense. Late night, after some of the townsfolk started to return to their health, there is fire outside her window. There is loud knocks upon her door, and the crowd has arrived to get their revenge. With an armful of goat, she has to flee out the back door and down the winding path. And she looks back just for a moment to see her house once more erupted in flames. How does this keep happening?
How?
How? Who can know what luck this brings?
Who can know what luck this brings? I forgot that we could say that as the end, and I'm so glad you just remembered.
We also are invited to, if we want, the other people I think can reflect as the characters' peers on what has happened to our character. So we have that too.
It's in a quiver, if you will.
Wait, but I thought that's wait, is that the end of the story?
No.
No.
Oh.
The who can knows what luck this brings is just the end of the turn, perhaps, if you wish.
Who can know what luck this
Who can
brings?
know?
How we can end. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. I remember that. Okay. See now, because I had a place, and then as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, okay, I guess I won't think about where we're going next. But where we're going next, don't worry. I know.
Don't worry.
I already know.
Don't worry. She's thinking about it.
And as she fled, she decided that it would be, I mean, where else do you go? She's traveled the world, and she figured that in order for her to fix what had happened, if she ever could, perhaps she should return to her home. And so she went back to her burnt down cottage and she wandered out to the wilderness once more. And while she was there, she met a cloaked individual, a mysterious being who just so happened to be the one who had created and owned those golden apples originally. They could sense upon her that she had taken them. And while initially she feared that this could be the end, perhaps this being would take revenge, they actually were grateful. You see, to take the apples meant to be cursed, but what they had not known was that even for them to have the apples, they themselves were cursed. So when she had taken them, she had unknowingly freed this mysterious being from a curse that they accidentally created themselves. And they were so grateful that they offered to rebuild her cottage. And not just rebuild it, but to rebuild it exactly as it had been, except they allowed her to pick one key improvement.
What luck will this bring?
What luck will
What
this
luck will
bring?
this bring?
Who can know?
Who can know?
Well, she has a water slide.
Oh,
Obviously.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And now it's obvious, I think, to anyone that if you ask for a water slide to be added to the place you live, there's implicitly a pool involved. No, genie rules apparently were in effect. Didn't get a pool. It's just a water slide
Shit.
that leads to the ground.
Shit.
You go down that water slide, land on your butt. In the hay. More hay. Ugh,
Ugh.
why is there always hay around these parts? It's a rough time. Bruise your tailbone.
Who can know what luck this brings?
Who can?
know.
Who can know what luck this brings?
I can't believe you've left me with covered in hay, slightly wet, bruised tailbone.
Well, all the hay is just reminding her of her goat who's changed so much and left her. Sitting there sobbing on your bruised tailbone at the bottom of your water slide with no goat to keep you company.
Wow,
That's a
is
bad
rough.
fate.
That's rough.
That's a bad
Rough.
fate.
That's really rough. Stuck in her misery, she finally brings herself to it. She was too proud before, but she gets out the writing paper, the blotting paper, her dip pen. She writes a letter. She writes a letter to the goat, who's living the high life off of the circus money that's still coming in. And she writes a letter of apology for all the ways that she'd mistreated Goat, that she'd grown distant from Goat. Goat can't read. But Goat do like paper for snacks.
Oh.
And when Goat taste paper, Goat remember, I know who has paper. I remember woman. And Goat makes a long trek back. One morning, a bleat from the front meadow. She opens the door, and who is there but a four-legged friend? Who can know what luck that would bring?
Who can know? Who can know?
And while they rejoice in being reunited once more, little do they know danger looms on the
Danger.
streets. A very terrible storm blows in, and one that makes it so that they cannot go outside for 2 whole years. It's the worst storm that has
What
ever
the
been seen.
heck?
Yeah, it's really bad.
No, I like that. That's classic fairy tale right there.
That's some good shit.
Yeah, and they're trapped inside. And unfortunately, it's during this time that they run out of jokes to tell each other. And they become so bored that the woman starts to question whether or not the goat can actually be trusted. And the goat starts to question whether or not the woman can be trusted. And it comes down to the two of them versus one another, woman versus goat. Who can know what misfortune this will bring?
Luck. Misfortune?
Who can
Yeah.
know? Who can know?
No.
I
Who can
can't
know?
know.
I hope it doesn't bring more misfortune. She's been through enough, I think.
Yes, I think so as well. And in fact, I heard things do get better. Because in there, at the tail end of this year's long storm, goat and woman sitting across from another, one on either side of the home like in olden times, the goat pulls out from the shelf an old game they haven't played in ages. Backgammon, of the
Oh,
table's family of games,
love backgammon.
and a pair of dice from sheep's knuckles. The goat gives them a roll, and the game is begun. And at first, it's quite competitive. Oh, how they long to best each other in this antagonistic relationship. And yet, as time passes, games are fun. And they start to enjoy themselves in spite of themselves. And when the storm finally ends, they don't even care to go outside. Why, they could. But in here we have backgammon and each other's company and the laugh of a game played well. Who knows what luck this brings?
Who
Who
knows?
can know?
Who can know?
I heard something dark happened in that cabin. Isn't it strange, don't you think, that the only creatures ever in that wood were the woman, the goat, and that mysterious ethereal being they called the warlock? Curious, curious. They played so many games of backgammon, and with each win, they would scratch a tick mark into the wall. On one side for the woman's wins, on the other side for the goats. And after some time, the goat had won 1,001 games of backgammon. The last tick marked into the wall. And as the goat marked it, the backgammon board began to burn, flames licking at it. And the woman felt something strange come over her. As if she was losing something. Something was rising from her. The goat turned. And for the first time, she noticed the goat's vertical eye slits. Demonic, almost, the way they stared into her. "Don't you know," said the goat, "you should never lose 1,001 games to a demon. The rules say that's when they win your soul." It had been partly by accident, but a demon can never turn up a soul. The soul, silvery and liquid, curled through the air and wrapped itself around the goat's horns. "Now, my dear," the goat said, "you will do exactly as I wish. I already caught you with my apples and cursed you to a life of misfortune, and now I have one more plan in mind." And with that, the goat led her out of the cottage and on one last adventure. But that's all I heard. I didn't hear what happened next. Who knows what misfortune that might bring?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Certainly not I. Demons. My word.
And on this final adventure, it is said that the woman roamed the earth forever without a soul. But she did find one way of finding peace. And this was to become the first ever marketing executive. And in not having a soul, it made her so good at her job. And through that, she felt gratified. And because she didn't have a soul, she could also live forever. That's part of not having a soul, apparently. So she was just an eternal marketing master. So in a way, she owed the goat a lot, even though the goat was a demon. And I mean, who can know what luck that might bring?
I kind of wanted to just end there.
That's pretty close to the end, I think. That's pretty much it. That's all I ever heard.
That's all I ever heard about it. To this day, she's still working.
Oh, did you hear more?
Nah, no, that's it. She's just out there.
Gotcha.
Repping all the companies that you know and love and sometimes love to hate.
You've heard the story of the man and his horse, but you'd never heard the story of the woman and her goat.
The goat.
Not me. First time for everything.
But now we know it. Now we all know it.
Yes, Jamie Lamey, the true antagonist. Capitalism.
Always.
Wait, is she responsible for Amazon? Well, we're streaming on Twitch right now, so who can say?
Who can say? Not us. Not here.
Us.
No, she's responsible for Microsoft.
Yeah, whatever the is she responsible for either Google or Amazon? I think that has to be you'd have to ask someone else on a different streaming service. She's responsible for Kick. Let's go with that. On that one.
No, Amanda, we were waiting for our Kick deal.
Oh my gosh, our Kick
Kurt
deal.
doesn't even know what Kick is. Look at his little
Isn't that a
confused
texting
face.
application?
Nah, it's a different one.
No, it's a different streaming service.
There was one
dear.
called Kick. You're not wrong,
Yeah.
but
There's a text application?
yeah.
There was in ancient times. I don't know if it still exists.
Kind of like a Snap thing, similar-ish.
In my mind, the youth used it when I heard about it, but
Yeah.
that's just everything now. If
The
I hear
youth?
about an app, I'm like, must be the youth. That's all I got. That's just who I am now. I hear about something and I'm like, the
Ah, the
young
youth.
people do that.
I love the content moderation on Twitch that like sometimes if there's like a word that you might be worried about, it gets like caught and the comment can't go through, and then one of us has to allow said word, and the the phrase that is now in my on my screen of Fanfics 13 added permitted term perverts is just a delightful thing to read. A wonderful sentence.
Doesn't get better than that, really.
Thumbs up.
I feel like that would be a hard one to use in a way that would be hurtful to us. I guess someone could come in and call us perverts.
They're gonna
but,
call
you
us
know.
perverts now.
I mean, they might, but fair enough.
I'm sorry, Rapala. We don't have the clip command set up on Nightbot. I should.
Oh, sorry. I have it
should
open right
link
now.
that.
Maybe I should do that. That was fun. Great.
It was fun.
Should we do another round with some alternate versions? Some sort of alternate version?
Yeah, what are
So-
the alternate rules?
Yeah, so there's 3 alternate versions, and I'll just read them out. One is instead of playing as through a parable, play from the perspective of the character telling this is a wild story in a bar.
Oh,
In
that's
which
fun,
case
fun.
I assume
Oh,
we
that
would
sounds
jump
fun.
in and say like, no, and then you're forgetting what happened next.
Right. That's good. Yeah.
So that's honestly, that's probably the most exciting one of the options. One of them is you can do generationally, like each turn's about how their parents screw up their kids or give them a better life. And the last one is from the perspective of things happening in a single place over eons. So following a place rather than a person. Um,
Yeah, I
do we
go
want to do a
to could be cool,
little,
but
Sure.
yeah,
little bar story?
bar story's fun. I'm just gonna take a quick break. You guys talking about syrup or whatever, you know?
Sure, sure,
Okay.
as we do.
Okay.
I also need to take a quick bio break.
Then I will entertain the masses.
Are you sure?
Oh yeah, I've got a
All
plan.
right. Oh, all right. Well, I'll leave you in Kurt's very capable hands. Um, yes, I'll be right back as well.
Hello, the masses. What a pleasure to be with you today. I am going to tell you about a game that they're never going to hear about. I don't think they watch the VODs. I sometimes do. Don't tell them that. It is embarrassing watching my own actual play, especially when I already said earlier that I don't really love actual play as a medium, so don't read into it. It's too much. Today, we're going to be exploring some games that are very, very old, and some of them are wildly old. Role-playing slash storytelling games that date back to like BCE. However, one of the ones that we're not going to be talking about today with Anthony and Amanda is a game called The Butterfly from 1830. The Butterfly, originally Le Papillon, which was found in the second edition of Manuel complet des jeux de société, is an 1830 collection of games uh, in which there's roles, there's characters, there's a tiny little world. It's a flower bed composed by flower characters. There's improvised first person narration, and there's play that you can do indefinitely. It's really kind of just a game of pretend with rules, and it is fascinating that this existed in 1830. So the text is quite antiquated, but I think for your pleasure and mine, I'm going to read it out because it is just like you get such a glimpse of what this is, right? So here we go. The butterfly. This is a translation of the French text. A butterfly. Flowers composing a flower bed, insects of various kinds. These are the characters of this game. Is it really necessary to say that the ladies are the flowers, and that they are named rose, tulip, lily, nightshade, balsamine, carnation, tuberose, etc.? The gentlemen take on the role of insects. Some are the caterpillar, the ant, the bee, the wasp, the others the aphid, the damselfish, the cranefly, the maybug, etc. As for the butterfly, that is the special title of the organizer of the game. This butterfly, like the organizers of other games, sits in the center of the circle formed by the group and begins by questioning a flower. The latter answers as soon as she has been named, and as soon as the name of one of the persons of the assembly occurs in her answer, she is interrupted by the latter, and so on. We see that this game has something to do with cobbler's shop, and a few others, but players must answer at much greater length. Furthermore, there are several important conditions that distinguish it. These conditions are 5 in number. We're going through rules from the Butterfly 1830, Anthony. We are not going to be playing this today.
Oh, okay.
The first condition is that ladies only name insects and the gentlemen flowers. For the second, it is forbidden to name a flower or an insect whose name no one in the group has taken. The third condition requires that when speaking of the gardener, all the ladies hold out their right hand to represent that the flower opens its chalice to the refreshing water that the gardener brings to it. The gentlemen, on the other hand, stand up and take 2 steps back to signify that the insects are fleeing his presence. The fourth is this: at the word watering can, it is the ladies' turn to rise. As the flowers straighten up when the water has quenched the thirst that made them bow their heads, they must also imitate this last movement. Gentlemen, on hearing this word, put one knee on the ground, for the reason that the insects they represent fear the water which could submerge them. The fifth condition is common to all players. If the sun is named, they rise to bear witness that they salute it as the universal benefactor. In these last 3 cases, one does not return to one's first position until the speaker has named a flower or an insect. We name the butterfly at will. It is superfluous to add that if one forgets to answer when one is named, if one speaks of an insect or a flower foreign to the game, if one fails to make the agreed gestures and movements or hesitates in their answers, they give a pledge for each fault. Needless to say, this game produces a lot of them. And this is one of the most fascinating things about this whole affair, folks, because we have tapped into a play culture that simply doesn't exist anymore and hasn't for a very long time. To loop in both Anthony and Amanda, we are reading through the rules that we won't play of Butterfly, an 1830 game. And one of the things that it mentions here is that if you mess up a rule, you give a pledge. What what is a pledge? A pledge is a part of games that is particular to these parlor games from this era, in which if you make a mistake, you forfeit something. They're also called forfeits. A small personal item from your pocket or an article of clothing like a scarf, and you can redeem it later through a penance, pénitence, which is very sort of a religious word in origin, but essentially a forfeit is part of so many of these games that they don't feel the need to explain it.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. You would have something, a handkerchief or something that you could pass,
Yeah. Do you,
and that's just cool.
the other game that was mentioned in the text, there was something about like it's similar to blah blah. Is that a game that we know of?
Not me. We see that this game has something to do with the cobbler's shop and a few others. Uh, I know nothing of the cobbler's shop, and I have no context for you to tell you of it.
So interesting.
Yeah, there's even then an example of play, sort of a long form like passage from each player in which they're doing a little monologue, and then as soon as they say the name of another player at the group, that player takes the reins to the story because it's triggered by it. Kind of like if anybody's played that board game Once Upon a Time, very
Yes.
similar sort of style. And
I
this
own
game's
Once
from
Upon a
1830.
Time. It's such a fun game.
Yeah, you have many games.
Me?
You. I've seen them.
Some of them are in the frame.
Some of them are.
Many. Well, that's cool, Kurt. I'm glad you got to read that out. We interrupted you, I think, just before you were about to do that when Amanda showed up. Something like that.
No, that's pretty much I wasn't actually gonna bring this one to the stream today because we're not playing it and I didn't want to waste your time. But it's so fascinating, like
Yeah.
historically, to see these rituals and practices and stories being told in the parlor with your friends. Um, yeah, there's even an example from elsewhere from 1800 of what redeeming forfeits looks like. Uh,
Okay.
would you like to hear
Yeah,
that
yeah.
as well?
Yeah,
What kind
yeah.
of
Okay.
things?
The girl who is to name the penalty by which the forfeit must be redeemed lays her face on the lap of another who sits on a chair, while a third, standing behind, holds the article over her head and asks, "Here is a forfeit, a very fine forfeit. What shall be done to redeem it?" And someone else asks, "Is it fine or superfine? i.e., does it belong to a gentleman or to a lady?" The
Oh,
sentence is then declared, as in the punishment, whatever is
right.
prescribed. Do this dare, whatever.
Yeah.
Or there's another formula in which you might say, "Heavy, heavy, what hangs over you?" This was also in Germany. The question being, "Judge, what is your sentence? What shall he do whose pledge I have in my hand?" And you name some kind of penalty. It's just, just
Interesting.
fun, to imagine.
So wait, there's a lady puts a head in someone's lap?
Not like that, Amanda McKnight. It's like a fainting kind of
A little
like
smile.
it's cheeky Amanda. I wondered if
In
that was going to be
someone's
asked.
lap,
Yeah.
though?
Hey.
I don't think I'm being cheeky. I think they're the ones being cheeky by putting that in.
Well, I
That
think
sounds
the
pretty
game
cheeky
is
to
a
me.
little flirty in general. All these
Yeah.
parlor games are a
I
little
mean,
flirty.
It's basically
yeah.
truth or dare.
Yeah, basically,
A
like,
little bit.
this is what people were playing before we were playing Truth or Dare. It's the original Truth or Dare. But I kind of like, I feel like it's just sounds like it would be really fun. Like, I didn't mean it as like oh my goodness. I more meant it like oh, okay, that's kind of cheeky. I kind of like it. I feel like that would be a fun game to play. I would actually play something like that where we had to put our head in someone's lap and then people were like, okay, what are we going to do with this person? I think that's super cute. Actually, I think it'd be really fun. We should bring back parlor games. Why don't we play them more at parties?
Amanda, we're here playing it now. We're trying to do
I
Oh
know,
my
this.
but we're
god, what a
doing
good
it.
segue.
We can't put our head in each other's laps or anything. That
It's true.
the
And
fun
that's
And
dinner
if you could go to
elements
the second tab
of
in the
like, and now
spreadsheet
you
where
need
I
to like,
have the lap head function.
and now we need to like, you know, and like be like, okay, I dare you to like run next door and like knock on someone's door or something, or whatever the heck kind of dares people would say.
Whatever the heck.
Whatever the
Whatever the
heck.
heck.
That's
Back in
right.
the
But I
day.
think that would be fun. Next time we have a party, we should bust out some parlor games.
Imagine if we all got dressed up. That'd be so good.
Right? It'd be so fun.
Be sweet.
You should have heard me today. I knew that we were going to be playing at least one game from the Regency era. More on that in a second. And I was like, partner, do you have any Regency clothing? As if the answer could ever be yes to that. And I wouldn't know.
Be.
I thought there
You
might
would
be
probably
like
know.
a sort of billowy shirt or something that might
Mhm.
be on hand that would
Yeah.
have been weird for maybe for like contemporary male presenting people, but could have been in the wardrobe of someone else. But alas, I come here unbedecked.
Well, if we ever do a parlor game party, a parlor party, then we should definitely dress up for it. I'm sure we could find the attire.
That'd be fun.
Regency era clothing, I think, is coming back. Not in an everyday fashion way, but just in the fact that I think that era is, you know, popular.
Fair
Is it
enough.
kind
I
of like
was actually
Bridgerton-y?
Yes, it is
Bridgerton-y, yeah.
Bridgerton-y. I looked up actually what a Regency era like man's outfit would be because I find often you look up clothes from a different era and you're like, oh dear. But with that one, I was like, sick. Yeah. Hook me up.
Yeah, people knew how to dress in the Regency era, man. Everyone was looking good.
Do men have interesting fashion?
I just like that there's like 1,000 buttons on the front of the overcoats.
1,000 buttons.
Yeah,
It's an
it's like
era, it's one of the era of like calves for men, and I actually love like nice calves on everybody, not just on men, but I think that that is a hot look when you flash some calf. So that's
when you
part of it.
flash
And
that
then
calf.
flash that calf. And then I think a lot of like empire waists for ladies, which I always think is like just such a comfy vibe.
Is Empire waist like not a cinched waist?
It's like just under the bust.
Ah, I see, I see.
So
I've been watching Bridgerton recently. I don't know if you guys have, but I've been noticing that the like the cuts of the dresses are like very many of them are very tube-like. Like it's not our conception of what
Yes.
attractive is. Like many of them is like, oh, she's wearing a bag.
Billowy.
That's cool.
yeah, very billowy. And I feel like it's pretty because it's got like some motion to it, but then it's also just looks like it would be more comfy. Because yeah, I don't think that corsets were really as much of a thing during the Regency era or anything like that. I don't think corsets came until just after.
I see. I see.
Yeah, I don't think corsets were part of the Regency era, but I am not a fashion expert. I just am think that true. One thing that I will say that is, never mind. No, that's a tangent for
Yeah,
sure.
it's
That's a huge
Regency,
tangent.
and then I think and then there's Regency era, which is part of the Georgian era, and
Yeah,
then
and
that's
then
followed by
Victorian.
Victorian, and
Yep.
Victorian would have been more of the corseted,
Corseted.
everything up to your neck type of very intense era for fashion. Although Victorian is also it's also a nice look, but it's a different vibe. Regency feels very like romantic.
Yeah, true, true.
Romantic.
It would be awesome if we brought it back. You know, like if fashion took a full turn. I guess it would be hard gender-wise, but it'd be cool.
I'm sure some things would be very difficult in the outfits that they wore when you look them up. It's like, also, could you imagine like wearing like a full coat with tails and everything
It'd be very
on
hot.
a day like today?
Yeah.
It's so hot today. You'd be like,
It'd be
dying.
swampy.
Or like in a full length gown. I'd be like, ugh, I'm warm.
I
But
will
that's okay.
say,
We would just lay around on our fainting couches or whatever people did.
Jamie Lamy notes that there's a lot of ringmaster looking outfits for guys, which
That's
is
true.
kind of heartbreaking for me because I have previously been accused of listening to a lot of quote circus music. And the fact that I also like circus outfits, that's just that's too many ducks lining up in a row.
Hey,
You better watch out, Kurt. People might start calling you a circus freak, like the woman and her goat.
That
Yeah.
was one of the first tragic things that ever happened to that woman.
The first tragedies in her life.
So,
Later, her soul is stolen by a devil.
I already like these games because it's just like I love I love when things allow us to be very outlandish. That's always very fun.
so we said we wanted to do one more round of this, but we're three friends who wander into a bar and keep interrupting each other to like tell the next part of the story, which is a downturn, an upturn, a downturn, an upturn.
So is it like this is a story of something that happened to all of us?
Yeah, let's say we're busting into a bar and we're like, you won't believe what just
What just
happened.
happened?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
nice.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good.
Uh, does someone else want to set the initial like story thing? And then the next person can do the upswing and so on.
Hmm.
Sure. I can. That seems right. I don't have any ideas, but I will
Oh,
in a
okay.
second when I open my mouth. Unless Amanda, you
Yeah,
got
it's
something.
I could start, but I'm also down for you to start. I have an idea.
Oh, all right. You should go.
Okay. Um, well, we have to tell you what just happened because we just came from far away and you will not believe. I know you may have seen the vehicle we pulled up in, and guess what? That vehicle, we managed to steal it off of the king. That's right. He doesn't know it yet, but that's the king's car. Very impressive. And not only that, but it's supercharged.
so what happened was we're out there, right? We're out there and we're just having a good night, you know? Am I right? Having a good night, folks?
Woo!
Woo!
That's what I'm talking about. We're out there and there's just the king's car. I know you're like, I don't even know what the king's car looks like. Guess who saw it in a news article today? This guy. So I see the king's car and I'm like, we got to get in this thing. We go in and I swear to you, break into this car. Hot wires so easy, by the way. Can't believe how easy a King's car hot wires. There is a slushy dispenser in the middle, like he's 12. And you better believe we made some sick slushies. We don't have them, we drank them, but like
It's true.
We didn't want to bring in outside drinks.
it was rude.
That would be
It was
rude.
rude to do it. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because we steal cars doesn't mean that we bring in outside drinks. We're not those kind of people.
Yeah, this is small business. We're not here to make your life worse.
But we should say. I mean, these guys are making it sound great, but did you know? Did you know the king has security and stuff? Like apparently, like a lot of security. Like apparently, like
Yeah.
technically speaking, the entire British army is security.
It was crazy.
Yeah. Have you ever jumped a tank in a car? Because we just did. But we're not very good at driving, so
No.
no. So as you can see, we did pretty badly smash up the car, rolled into a ditch. But hey, we crashed the king's car, so that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
It
And
is
you know,
pretty
when we
cool.
were in the ditch, we did remember when we found that heirloom that was in the grass? It was actually an heirloom of Kurt's family, I think. And I couldn't believe that it was
They're
there.
ditch people.
Shout out Gramps.
I couldn't believe that we found it in that ditch because Kurt believed that it would never be found again.
So
I
it's crazy. It's crazy, actually.
It was crazy. And I feel like, I mean, Kurt, you'd probably be better to talk about this, but it was one of the most beautiful crystal swans I've ever seen in my life. You should tell people a little bit more about like the whole story that you told us about that swan. Because that, I couldn't even believe it. It's just such a sad story.
Yeah, so what's super crazy is that like this swan, it's like it's so beautiful and it's like this like like oh everything just like super faceted in these beautiful ways and it's actually like it's like sharp uh and
Yeah.
and it's have you heard of like it's like the you know like the shit uranium glass. Yeah. So it is
Yeah.
uranium glass.
Yeah, yeah.
Glows this oh it's like the prettiest green. Real bad actually, real bad. Thought we buried Gramps with that, but guess not.
Well, you did,
Still
but
kicking around.
in the ditch.
Oh, is that why we found it in the ditch?
Yeah.
Oh, that actually makes so
That would
much
make some
sense, though.
sense.
Right.
I guess there were
Anyway,
other graves in that ditch. I never thought about what those markers were for, but that makes a lot of sense.
oh, that explains the skeleton as well. So we did find Grandpa's skeleton there with. It's making sense to me now how this all played out,
I
but
never
so
even thought
then,
about that.
yeah, it was kind of like we were like, whoa, didn't ask for this, but that's, it's cool that it happens.
Yeah, and you'd think being exposed to that much radiation and also recent family tragedy would be bad for you, but like as we were like climbing out of the ditch, all of us like realized that we could see auras. Like like we looked at each other and I was like Amanda, you're glowing mauve, right? And then like
And
I was
not
like
just from the uranium.
No,
no.
well, I mean, like it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
Tomato, tomato.
what the radiation certainly did was, I think it gave us, the power to see each other's feelings, and like, dude, we bonded as we ran across the field away from the British Army. We bonded in a way that you just like I've like never felt before. Like I like looked at Kurt and I was like, you have a deep sadness that comes from shame. I can see, but you know, when I look at you, I see only somebody who is heroic and admirable, and you have nothing to be ashamed of. Uh, and I remember as he climbed over a fence and tore his jacket that he was like crying tears of joy. So it was like pretty cool, It was pretty amazing moment.
It
Yeah.
is pretty cool to have empathic abilities. And I know what you guys are probably thinking. Like, okay, wait. So you can like what, sense all of our feelings? That's
Hey,
crazy. What
yes.
can you
could I get another beer, by the way?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Actually just bring around for like
Yeah,
everyone.
all of us actually,
All of
like
us,
all
all
of,
of
if you
us.
could, yeah, take a
So
picture.
like we can sense all feelings.
Yeah,
Like
we
we could
can.
sense that you wanted to bring us some drinks. So that's probably why Kurt asked, because I could sense that too. That you were waiting to take our order because we've been talking a lot. But you might be thinking, what else can you do? Could you like even see ghosts or something? Do you see dead people? And the downside to it is that we do.
Yep.
And
Yeah, we
Yep.
totally, yeah, totally do.
unfortunately, because we are in a country that is, it's got a very storied history. People have died everywhere. So we actually see ghosts everywhere in this place, and you see them. If you're a ghost, by the way, it's not a good thing. It's usually because you want to take revenge on everyone that has ever wronged you in life, and anyone that can see you,
So bad, man.
They're all
you're just thinking,
buzzkills.
I could take it out on them right now. So everyone that's in here that's dead is horrifying, and they might tear us apart at any moment.
Could we
But
get those
that's part
beers
of the
faster?
Yeah, if we can get them faster. That'd be really good. But
Yeah,
the one thing
yeah.
is that you got to take the pros with the cons, like
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah, actually, and I'll just say right here. So like, yeah,
yes.
kind of a bummer, kind of weird, like exploring this space. Oh, touched
creepy
one.
for sure, for sure.
Oh
Feels
well,
wet,
it's
actually.
mad.
Yeah.
It doesn't like that.
Hey, oh, don't. Yeah.
Okay.
That hurts my
But
feelings, actually.
yeah, it's actually, oh, the hand's cold. The hand's still cold, not touching it anymore. But, it is like living history. They're not living, like, history is kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
like, we did have this one moment. So we're like walking back up the ditch, like to the king, like where we came from the king's car, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
there's some royal family members that might still be chilling around, right? And so it was like, oh, this isn't really good. This is kind of a bad deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, but, but here's the thing, right? Now you might not have noticed my sick ringmaster outfit, right?
It
Pretty
looks really
cool.
good.
Yeah, we were gonna go to a costume party and then we stole the car. But that's like doesn't really matter. What matters is I'm dressed like a ringmaster, and you know who else dresses like ringmasters? Regency era monarchs. So I'm sitting there,
Yes.
right? Right? I'm sitting there and I'm like, hey Georgie, how you doing? And like he's looking at my drip, and nobody's had drip like this in 200 years. So like I think we had a bonding moment, and then he like whispered the secret location of the Grail to me or whatever. And like I
That's
don't know if
true.
that's gonna come in handy, but I was like, hey, big ups to you, Georgie. That's like that's you're like letting it go. You're passing it on to the next G generation. So, that was pretty sick, I will
G
say.
is in for generation.
G
And
like yeah, G
George.
like generation.
G
And
like George.
George.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had a great talk with Queen Mary. She's kind of chill, actually. She kind of
She's
knows how to hang.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But we did get super distracted in the King's car because we had like momentarily shook off the British like Secret Service, but we forgot to drive away real fast. So
Mhm.
so we did get arrested by
We did.
MI5, and we did get taken to a dark site.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was rough. They apparently don't like it if you steal the king's car. Actually, that's bad. So
Yeah.
so they asked a lot of questions and like threatened to disappear us and stuff. And we're like, "Are you terrorists?" Blah 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 blah. Yeah, it was a long 48 hours that we were locked in those cells. Yeah,
Really
actually,
thought they'd take the car though.
yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah.
crazy part is we got the car back later, but yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Is
sorry.
the wild part is that you would think after all that, like, how do you even get out of that? Like, how do you even
True.
escape?
True.
Which we did escape,
Yeah, this is actually crazy though.
and
Man's gonna tell you how we escaped, and this is
you
like
won't believe.
nuts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You guys have a bathroom? They didn't let us pee for those 48 hours, so I was like down there. Sweet, cool.
It's like, yeah. Have you not been here before? Rax?
Nah, I don't drink.
What we didn't know at the
Wait,
time.
hold on. Sorry, but there's like pool.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I just didn't recognize it. They changed
Oh.
the paint.
Yeah. Sorry. I interrupted. Sorry, Amanda. I am like
Mm-mm.
desperate to hear
No.
your
We
take
should
on this
play
because it
some
was
pool after this.
no,
Actually,
we actually should.
Whoa, we
actually
should. I'm so
not
good.
I'm not very good, but okay.
it's
Okay.
not
So
about being good. It's just about having fun with the game. And
It's true.
if there's anything
it's
I've
actually really
learned on
beautiful.
this adventure with you guys, I would say that was kind of the moral that we learned. Because remember when we were locked up and
Yeah.
they were saying, it's not cool to steal the king's car, which we totally understood after, and we said, sorry about that. But sometimes, you just gotta go for it because it's really about the spirit of the moment, and
Yeah.
we're just trying to have a good time. We're not good at stealing cars. We've never stolen a car before.
No.
Never done it.
And when we said that, I was surprised because they said, "Oh, well, if you've never done it before, then obviously we're gonna let you off the hook.
Yeah, apparently there's like a
When you
two
get
strike
one-
you're out rule in British law, so you always get one freebie.
You get one freebie. So they said, well, in that case, we have to let you go. And actually, the fact that you were doing it for a fun time means that we're going to send you with a little souvenir pack. So we actually got to not only keep the car, which was pretty crazy,
Yeah.
but they actually gave us these really fun souvenirs. And one of them was a brochure for this uh, restaurant, which we remembered that it was here. We were like, oh gosh, we got to go. So
Gotta go.
yeah, so it was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy, but now we got some snacks and feeling pretty good getting out of there. It didn't erase the trauma,
No, and the
but
ghosts
it
in
made
prison
it
were the worst
the
kind.
ghosts were the
Those
worst.
were like the worst ghosts so far.
Oh, I
It's not
forgot
good if
about
you
that
die in
part.
prison, just so you guys
No.
know. You don't have
No,
a good
it's
time.
like
Do you
super
I can't
bad,
even
actually.
remember like with the ghosts what they did to us. I think I've blocked it out of my memory. It was so bad.
Oh shit, okay. So yeah, I mean, I'll let you in. The worst was like right when we were getting to the car, remember?
yeah.
Because we just get out, right? And then there's this
Oh,
ghost that
yeah.
was super mad
Yeah.
because she died like after she was released. She's like walking out on her like freedom walk or whatever, and that's when she dies. So now she just like sits on the threshold and with these eyes that see 1,000 years forward and 1,000 years back will like pierce into your soul, and it sucks, dude. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not the one who killed you, right? And it's like, oh, I'm not like, I don't like the penitentiary system. I'm not like this blows. Why are we more about like correcting like what can't we do like reform instead of trying to punish people? Like it
That's a
should
good
be about
point.
there being I'm sorry, like I'm whatever. So like
Yeah,
and
yeah,
she didn't
yeah, yeah,
take
yeah.
well to that at all. She was just like,
No,
oh,
she
I'll
didn't
haunt your
like that.
soul. Like I
Yeah.
I said it now, but like I said it then too, and it wasn't
Oh,
good.
is that why I have that like that feeling, that pit of
Yeah.
emptiness where it feels like a dagger's been run through your heart?
Oh,
That was
yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
haunting of the soul.
Oh,
I
yeah.
It's got to
remember
be
now.
the same one. Yeah,
Yeah,
because like
oh,
I'm feeling that too, right? It's like,
hurts a
ooh,
lot
hope that
actually.
wears off, right?
Not
But
gonna.
yeah.
Never for life. We're stuck with it.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
but I mean, what are you gonna do? Anyway, okay, bring us home, Anthony. You started this, right? And you gotta pee, so like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, right. So then, yo, what happened? Oh yeah, we were driving here. We were driving here, and there was like actually like the street's crazy, right? And actually there was like a street. There was actually like a
it's crazy.
like there wasn't any parking spots, and then we tormented the ghost to like drive one of the guys nearby, like make him go wild.
Crazy?
Yeah, and then he had to get in his car because he felt really bad, and then he drove away, and we actually got a spot. It was great. So we actually
Yeah.
have like we actually got to park up front. So,
It's like,
Yeah.
because it's right there, right? Beep beep.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that
Cool.
is our story. Good bar. Oh, is it? I guess it's actually just you and us then, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, that's cool, man. Do
Hey.
you want to play some pool? Barkeep.
You're not doing anything else.
Yeah, you
It's
do.
only us here, so yeah, may as well.
All right.
Go-
Let's grab some cues.
Woo!
And
Let's go.
you'll break.
Cue it up.
Okay, that was great.
That was really fun.
That was good.
Oh my goodness.
Liked that more than I should have. I think.
More than I should have.
More than I should have.
I love the idea of us stealing a car only to crash it in a ditch and be caught, only to get out on a technicality.
Yeah.
It's
The
pretty
one
good story.
freebie, the get out of jail free card that everybody gets.
Yeah. I also was like, I could have used our empathic abilities. I could have done a lot of things, but I like how it was just like, the law is that you get one free.
If you're doing it for funsies, that's chill.
That's totally
That's chill.
different.
That's
That's
chill.
chill.
It's your first time and it was for fun. Wow.
Wow, that's okay.
Like it is it.
That was great.
That was really exciting.
Do you want to run one of these Old
There's
games?
one that's I think going to
Should we
be
do
like
one?
easy peasy, and that
Yeah?
can like cap us off,
Yeah, it
have a
sounds great.
lovely little time.
I like a lovely little time.
I love a
Yeah.
Uh,
little time.
I need to take one more bio break though. I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
feel
Yeah,
yeah,
like
go for it.
you're
I've been
good.
sitting a lot. I'll be right back, and I'm also going to get. I might get a little bit of rum cream. I'm kind of feeling. I might have a little sip of something.
Whoa, fun.
A little crazy. Okay, I'll be
All
right back.
that bar role play got to you?
Yeah, all the bar role play got to me, and I don't have any
Sweet.
other fancy sips, so I think I'm gonna have some of that. I'll be right back.
Jamie writes, I'm confused how this game is different than improv practice. It is. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, a lot of the games we play on this channel could probably just be called improv with a couple more rules, which, I mean, improv games exist.
Yeah.
So,
Part of
yeah.
the reason that I brought this one on stream today was just because I feel like a lot of the time there's kind of like chatting about how we play games on the lighter side, but it could always go lighter, baby. We could always have a more stripped down system. We could always have a more tenuous idea. And honestly, some of the most fun you can have is with games that have the least rules you got. There is this one game that I was thinking about today for the first time in a long time. It's called Snake Oil. We used to play it at the board game cafe that Anthony and I both worked
We
at.
did.
Shout out to personal shared history. Uh, Nikolai was dead simple. One player drew a card that would give them a role like astronaut, and then every other player has a hand of nouns, something like spring, coffin, uh, granola, just anything that could theoretically form half of a concept because what that player does is combines two of them and then tries to sell that product made of, let's say, spring coffin or I don't know, vacuum massage. Ugh, that's nope.
Vacuum massage.
Tries to sell that product to whatever the character is that round. And that's the whole game. Basically, the person who was, quote, playing as the astronaut that round just chooses who they think had the best pitch, and that player gets the point. I love games like that. Dead simple, good, just a good goofy time with
Yeah,
some
we
pals.
had a lot of fun playing Snake Oil. I haven't thought about it in a while. It used to be like a real go-to. I hope people are still playing it.
Yeah. Well, I was only thinking about it because I was perusing someone's board game collection today. Most of the asterisk for our audience, most of the time when you hear the word perusing, they're using it wrong because perusing actually means like very fine grain examining every element of
I
something,
forgot that.
not casually browsing. I do literally mean perusing. I go through a board game collection with a microscope, baby.
Is this like on Facebook or something?
Work colleague
Okay.
actually. He was on camera and I said, "What's that board game?" Uh, and then was distracting during a work meeting and then got a shelfie. So I got to look at everything in full detail.
Yeah.
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 So Snake Oil
Snake
in a
Oil,
minute.
great game, great game. Yeah, when
Great game.
when I have to explain to folks what this is, right? When they're like, "Well, what else do you do for fun?" and I try to fill in my Monday evenings. If you don't understand, if you've never played, if you don't know what Dungeons and Dragons is, this is a really long walk to figure out what this is. But improv does most of the work. To be honest, it's like
Yeah.
improv storytelling with my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some of them have rules, big
yeah.
old rules, right? Some of them are kind of complicated. We don't play ones that are like mega complicated here. The longest rule books we tend to have that hit our table here are like, I don't know, 200 pages is probably the longest one I've ever brought to this.
That's long. I mean
That's
that has
long.
happened, but that's on the long end for sure.
Usually we're talking like, I don't know, 30 to 80, and
Yeah.
usually 50 of those pages are just like bonus stuff, help you tell story good. Yeah, Bleak Spirit was 100 pages,
Oh yeah.
and 70 of those pages were like scenarios,
Yeah.
sort of settings we could have used already built, which is super cool. But
You know what actually what stands out from what we normally do from improv and what was notable about this game is that like a lot of these games do have a lot of like they have a lot of prompts, you know, like hand holding in a way in terms of like
Yes.
they give you a place to start so that you don't feel like you are like writing things from scratch. Um and that's one of the hard parts about storytelling. It's not the only hard part about storytelling, but it's one of the like big challenges is to try to go from blank page to something. And so normally we have like hand holding with that. We didn't for this, and I can always feel it whenever a game doesn't like
Yeah, yeah,
hit me with
yeah.
like a okay, well at least here's one line of what you're supposed to be doing. I'm like, oh no, what do I say? And so like the first round of this game is kind of hard because you just will be like, okay, I'm gonna say some words.
Hope this is good.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, yeah. So it is strange building a scaffold and a building at the same time. Usually we have like a little bit of something to climb.
yeah,
Right now we just have tools, which is interesting,
yeah.
but a different vibe, if you will.
I'm glad we played a second time. I was thinking too, like, this is a fun game to play several times because once you like feel comfortable with the tools, you know, then you can really choose like, okay, I want to tell a story that's like this, right? Like you can really steer. We could decide to be like, well, let's do a serious one, you know, like you could do one that felt mysterious, you could do one that felt like eerie, you could do one that felt like actually tragic or dramatic or like you actually could you have a lot of control over that actually, which is kind of nice because that's not always the case in other games. Is because there's so much input happening from the prompts from the book, you actually like don't have full control over where your tone goes. Where we have a lot more of that.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Because, first time you're just kind of, how does it work? How does it even work?
Yeah.
Well, if it isn't Amanda McKnight.
Ooh,
You guys.
you look excited. I feel like you got a pretty tasty drink
She
there.
can't
Oh, she
hear us
can't
yet.
hear us. You look excited, Amanda. Ooh.
I have a Death Star ice cube in here. You can't see it on camera, but it's a big Death Star.
Oh wow. What? Oh my gosh. You had to fire me from nerddom. I was like, Death Star? What's that?
See,
Yeah.
there's actually a great irony to that because I once looked through the founding documents of the Board Game Cafe that Anthony and I used to work at.
Mm.
And in the like early days, ancient times, here's how we're going to do things that they'd set out. One of the things that was in there was anytime you like pour someone a soda pop, you put some ice in, pour the pop in, and then on top you place a single Death Star ice cube from the special tray that we'll keep in this spot, and you'll pop out this special ice cube and you'll put it in on top. As you might, if you've ever worked in food service, you might have immediately thought, that sounds like too little juice for too much squeeze, and you
Yeah.
would be right. We literally never did that.
No.
Maybe
Ever again?
I don't know if it was ever done. I wasn't there day one. I was there like month 6 or something.
I was there day one. I don't remember. I think now that you've said it, I'm like, oh, that does ring a bell, but surely it didn't make it past day one.
It was definitely challenging just to get that ice cube out. You may have noticed
Yeah.
a
I
lot of
bet.
rushing happening. That
Oh.
was me trying to figure out how do I open this thing.
Is it like a two-sided ice tray? Like, are we talking like a full sphere?
But it was like the bottom was like stuck onto the ice. I think
Yeah,
because it's
makes
so
sense.
hot in here, so I think the hot with the cold was like making it
So
more stuck.
hot.
So
Hot
hot, so cold. Anyways.
I have
Huh.
sent both of you in
Yes.
our chat, our
Mm.
main chat where we organize things. I've sent you a link to, I am not kidding, a NeoCities webpage, which has the text to the game that we are about to play. So there's kind of an ancient on ancient thing going on here.
Yeah.
Um,
All
Actually,
right.
I'm going to say this because it fascinates me and is relevant. I was in the UK relatively recently. I went to Bath, and in Bath, a town in England, there are ancient Roman baths. That's why it's called Bath. Like in like thousands of years ago, the Romans came and took advantage of natural springs and made baths. Uh, Totally fascinating that those structures still kind of exist, but built on top like at sort of what is now ground level, is this Victorian era set of Roman statues that were like, nah, look what we found. Isn't it marvelous that there should be these Roman baths here? We shall build stone statues to Roman baths. And of course, like at the time, that was just like almost fan art of the Romans. And now they're both old. They're just different old. So I had to get that one out of my system.
I love that. Yeah, when you find out that like that an ancient civilization was an ancient civilization for another ancient civilization, you're like, oh, oh no.
Oh no.
Oh, the pyramids were already old. Oh no. Yeah, crazy.
So let's I think I'm just making sure that there's nothing like startlingly racist or something that has to be read aloud if we were to read aloud the parts, because I will remind you all, 200-year-old game. Uh, I think by
Risky.
and large, no. So I saw the word Africa and was like, let's double check and make sure nothing awful happens to poor Africa. But no, it doesn't. It doesn't look
Good.
like the case. So I think 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Let's each read out one paragraph going around the circle of the text on this page that is in the section called translation. Before we begin, I will say for those of you who don't feel like clicking on an external link, this is a game called The Impromptu Tale, and it is from around 1812. It was found in volume 2 of Le Petit Savant de Société, which
Ooh.
was a bunch of games.
Which was a bunch of games.
Which was a bunch of games.
A bunch of games.
Yeah, a bunch of games. There are plenty of Victorian parlor games that aren't storytelling games, but there are some that are. So here, as follows, is the translation of the first 6 paragraphs of this game's rules. So I'll start.
Okay.
The subject matter of this story must be of a noble kind. Whether we introduce fairies or genies, or whether we choose chivalry as the genre, he or she who has the most facility and imagination must take on the main role of storyteller, the better to smooth out the occasions for confusion that result from the story and emerge successfully from the difficulties that must be overcome.
The difficulties.
The first storyteller is called the confidant, and must start by giving each of the players the name of an object that could figure in a heroic narrative. For example, palace or castle, tower, shore, sea, vessel or ship, minion, minister, captain of the guard, garden, park, forest, city, village, hamlet, valley, mountain, rock, precipice, or dungeon.
Amanda McKnight.
I love a dramatic pause. Whoever begins the story first must seek to fix everyone's attention with something interesting or extraordinary in order to be able to catch off guard those who will be named. Here is the way I've seen it play, which can serve as an example.
In a kingdom of Africa, the name of which has been lost through the ignorance of geographers, the king had left as heiress a young princess whose beauty was ravishing. Here the narrator can paint her portrait and detail the qualities of her heart and her mind. But her mother, who was regent of the kingdom until her daughter's majority, and who was ambitious, vain, and flirtatious, in the hope of perpetuating or at least prolonging her authority, kept this young princess far away, and caused the public to believe that the princess's reason was lost. But Melidor, one of the handsomest and bravest knights of the court of Philip the Fair, King of France, who had seen the princess before death had taken her father, and who had been touched by her charms, having returned to Africa, and well suspecting that such an admirable princess could not have lost her reason, conceived the project of extricating her from oppression, and delivering her from the capacity in which she was being held. Followed by his squire, he walked towards the tower and...
Upon naming the tower, the interlocutor who had been given this name began speaking and continued the story. Not feeling strong enough to support it for long, he described the shape and height of the tower and extricated himself from difficulty, saying the top of this tower surpassed the height of the tallest trees in the forest.
The forest, who in her turn was obliged to continue the story, got rid of it, saying that the knight, surprised at the height and shape of his prison, wishing, however, to enter it, consulted his squire, who was his confidant.
And that's pretty much how the game is going to go. We're just going to be talking until we hit one of the keywords that triggers one of the other ones among us to talk and describe the next part of the story. So you can see why I thought of Victorian parlor
Very,
games
this
from,
is very Once Upon a Time, this vibe.
right? Once upon a
True.
time, stealing from great, 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 great granddad.
Yes. Very cool. Okay,
Hmm.
so do we want to ask chat for the keywords for this one?
Sure, why not? We'll open it
That
up
would
to
be
chat.
fun.
And I think just to keep us on our toes, let's each have two.
Ah,
I
fun.
like it.
Yes.
And taking in the manner that we could propose that ourselves be best positioned to experience play, we shall ourselves acquire two words, each one to key us into the next part of the tale that we tell. I am tempted to tell the whole story in this rambling Dickensian style. I know
I
that
love like how the author was like, oh, and I've heard it played this way, which can serve as an example, and then launched into the most wild, impossible to come up with on the spot prose, which maybe they could have, but I just love the idea of that. Like, it's like, oh yes, and then I heard my friend say, conceive the project of extricating her from oppression and delivering her from the captivity in which she was being held.
I think that's just how people spoke in 1812, maybe.
Perhaps I feel like it required more brain capacity than I have.
well, I
Uh,
think
Different.
if you're used to a certain style of
It's
speech,
easier, yeah.
you know,
Yeah, there's like phrases that it's easy for you to link together. This makes sense. Okay.
Linguistically quite different, the way I think we talked
Yes.
back in ye old days.
I should say I pinned it, but I do love Otto's comment about, ooh, they trick you into listening to other people talk,
They
which
did.
is true. You're on the edge of your seat. You gotta wait. You gotta
I
wait.
do hereby request that Otto, you give me two words for which I will be responsible for the remainder of this game.
Wow. Yeah,
Called
we're
out.
taking calls, folks. We're taking calls.
Give us some
Some keywords.
keywords.
And if you don't, we'll have to come up with them ourselves, but we will look uncool for having had to do it.
Because we don't have an active chat.
So, you said that we should each add two, and then chat will fill in the rest. Is that how we want to do it? How many do we have? As many as we want.
we were gonna give two to each person.
Yeah.
Oh, two to each person. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. So
I think we're
chat
just
can.
gonna take whatever we get from chat.
Otto has
Yeah,
given me
okay.
the word keep, which is clever because it can be both a thing and
A
a
place.
place. Well, no, a place, but also
Ooh.
an action.
Jamie Lamey has given us Homecoming and Boxcar,
Very cool.
which I
Frankly,
like.
delightful with a boxcar.
I love a
I
boxcar.
want to see the story that has a keep and a boxcar, and we are about to.
Atomic sorcery. Would you give, perhaps, Kurt, two objects, two things? Ah, Otto has suggested listen.
Great.
Yeah. All right.
Boom. There it is.
Keep,
Uh,
listen. Uh, yeah. We just need two more.
Two more.
We've got a
Lockpick.
Lockpick. Ooh, okay.
This also kind of makes me want to play Legend of Aesthetic, which is a very keyword driven game, but it's kind of driven
That's really
in
fun.
reverse. Like you pick the key, you've played it. And those of us who were with us
Helmet.
from the start will remember.
The
Okay,
real
so
fans.
we also have helmets. We have
Helmet.
keep,
Perfect.
Homecoming, Boxcar, listen, Lockpick, helmet.
We'll figure it out, Otto. What era this is?
I think we need to be in an era that has like steam and stone, right?
Yeah. I think so. Amanda, do you want Homecoming and Boxcar?
Sure.
Nice. I'll be keep and listen. Kurt, do you want Lockpick and Helmet?
Lockpick and helmet for me.
Sweet. And then should we give somebody confidant
So
as
wait,
well,
are
or
those
just
are those
Your
are those
triggers.
our triggers? So like when
Mhm.
someone says that, now we're in?
Yes, if
Yes, sir.
someone
Mm,
says homecoming,
I
Amanda,
must.
you must grab the reins. And if you
Got
don't,
you.
a forfeit, a pledge.
Forfeit a pledge. Get my
And then
handkerchief out.
somebody has to put their face in someone's lap.
I think so. My favorite thing about that whole the way that was explained as well is that I love how it was like a woman's head in someone's lap. So I was just like, is it always a woman?
I think it was like the women were the context for this, like the woman's putting her head in like another woman's lap because they were divided. But you didn't hear this because you got here later, but the genders were separated into flowers and insects. The two
Oh,
genders, flowers and
oh
insects.
yes, of course. Like the birds and the bees.
Oh, wait. No.
Yeah.
No.
No. That's not what that.
Well, like the birds and the bees in terms
Neither
of
of
what it
those things are a
represents when you
flower.
have the no, neither of those things are a flower, but both of them, the birds and the bees is in reference, I believe, to things like pollinating flowers.
Right, but I thought for a moment that you were implying that, like, in the birds and the bees metaphor, the birds are one gender and the bees are the other.
I've always, as a child, I used to think that, but I
No,
could never
no,
figure which
not
one
like
was
that.
which. I was like, but,
But
but
who's
what is the
who?
metaphor?
Yeah, it is true. It is confusing, the birds and the bees. Like, what is that really about? But it's a that's what it's giving. It's giving like that kind of vibe of the idea of I'm assuming that the ladies are flowers and the guys are the insects.
That is in fact correct, yes.
Yeah.
Haha.
Pretty cheeky.
Pretty cheeky.
Pretty
Pretty
cheeky.
cheeky.
I'm embarrassed that
Uh
Otto had to write into the chat. Birds and bees are still animals. Insects and flowers are different.
I've had insect flour before.
yes.
You can make a patty out of that.
I
can.
didn't mean in regards to the fact that flowers are literally like birds. That's to be clear. I did not. I know that those are different things.
But if any animal that's not in the ocean like is a flower, it's probably going to be a bird. Just think about them colors and them petals, aka
Mm,
feathers.
true. They're pretty. They're pretty. They're colorful.
Uh,
I did also share a link with you guys in the chat, our chat, so that you can. I just made like a doc with the keywords if you guys want it.
oh,
You might
nice.
not need it, but
Cool.
just in case.
All right. Then perhaps may I begin?
Oh, yeah, sure. I thought I was going to have to lift
No,
the
no, no.
boar for a second there.
No. You've already had to start something.
Kurt started one and I started one.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
now Anthony
It's my turn.
starts one.
Ah.
Or Anthony? Which this way,
No,
right?
you got it right. Yeah. That's right. Um, in a kingdom, the name of which has been lost to the ignorance of geographers, the train conductor had returned from a long journey, a winding track that went over moor and hill, through swamp and fen, and found its way back to the town in which he lived. He had returned for a very special occasion. At his daughter's bequest, many letters had arrived at the stations, each one waiting for him, and each one with more proclaimed urgence to have him return home. For you see, his daughter requested a ride. A ride on the black, inky train that he drove for a very special event, a incredibly special ball that was to be held at her academy. You see, it was the weekend of homecoming.
And as he rushed to get his daughter forthwith to this extravagant event, the event of the season, some would say, he could not help but consider what implication this ball would have for his daughter. Would she perhaps meet a suitor? Would she perhaps find a calling that would take her away from him, her family, that would take her beyond the country to a different place? After all, she was someone that had a many an interest, especially when it came to devices, inventions, and all sorts of things of scientific nature. So perhaps she would meet someone, or perhaps she would discover something that would take her somewhere else. It was for this reason that when they first arrived, he decided, rather than leave immediately, to carefully and covertly listen.
Ah, and so he did. To whatever occasions were going on. And he did hear his daughter mention something strange. As she checked her belongings, said, "Ah, yes, I have my ribbons and a flask of the devil knows what. And of course, my lockpick."
And so a good many moments passed between the family as they stared upon the lockpick, always carried so close to her chest, always carried in the event it would be needed. In the particular moment, one can never predict such things. When shall it be time? When shall it be time to enter? When shall it be time to escape? All these thoughts swirled around as further down in the town, a great commotion came from the keep, the great stone structure in which the train slept when it was not traveling here and far.
The king beckoned out. "The train! Something is deeply wrong with it! It's missing! It's missing the most important piece! Where is the boxcar?" the king bellowed.
It was at this point that the man's daughter, Evelyn, decided to leave the homecoming ball. Her father noticed that one moment she was there, and the next she was nowhere to be seen. She had disappeared out, and she seemed to be changing into a completely different outfit. The time had come, you see, for her to prove what it was she had always wanted to. Quickly, quietly, stealthily, she slipped on her helmet.
And so, slinking through the town, the quiet chink of chain mail as each step she took against the gravel road, a little bit quieter than the last. Clad in her helmet, clad in her mail, she walked up to the keep.
Oh.
You owe me a forfeit.
No!
Why, you simply must pass me your scarf, sir.
Here's my sock.
And what penance shall he pay? Does someone have a lap?
I think that Anthony should have to text a parent that he loves them.
Okay.
Forthwith.
Forthwith.
Forthwith. All right. Just one of them? That's the worst part of this.
Yeah. You could send it as a bass text if you want. I won't
I
stop
have, I have a group chat with them.
you. Hey, love you. Don't worry, this isn't a penance in a game or anything.
But I'm also fine.
You randomly get a
sent the
text from your
text.
child. You did?
have
Oh,
sent it.
amazing.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's something that you can keep.
I love it.
Keep. Interesting.
His ankle is revealed. Dirty hosiery. Okay, dirty hosiery must be pinned.
Pin it. Pin it. You see, the whole thing had been a ruse. All of it. The ride requested. This daughter had no interest in going to the homecoming.
The homecoming was all part of the plan, though, because she had to have been seen there so that no one would know that she was elsewhere. No one would know that she had brought her lockpick here for a reason.
Indeed, a reason most foul. For with her lockpick, not 2 nights hence, she had prepared the elaborate ritual by which she would steal the boxcar.
The boxcar was lying in wait, you see, and was very valuable. On it were many treasures, treasures that had come from far and wide, that would help her, aid her in her invention. And as she slunk through the town, despite the weight of the chainmail, she was very stealthy, very quiet. And this, when she got to the keep, she listened. I'm gonna do both. Is that okay?
You double tapped me.
I'm gonna double tap.
Update, my mom has said that she loves me too, and then in brackets says, was this meant for me?
That's super cute, and also
I promise you guys, I do tell my mom I love her.
it's very cute and also slightly cheeky of your mom. Which
Little
was
cheeky,
this
little
for me?
cheeky.
Oh,
Who's this
cheeky.
for?
She's like, "Who's this for?"
Who's this for? Have I met them?
Lockpicks. Oh wait, where are we? Okay, perfect, excellent. She stepped on the boxcar. What?
Well, it seemed for a second like you were like, all right, Kurt, lockpicks. And I didn't know what was, yeah.
She stepped onto the car. Now safely hidden away in its hiding place. Small shed off the tracks, normally used for upkeep, repairs. And she stepped into the treasure hold of the boxcar.
In the boxcar, she saw everything that she had needed for her plan to go smoothly. However, she would need to make sure for this next bit, as it was quite a dangerous plan, especially considering the amount of explosives in this car, that she secured her helmet.
And so, with a quick twist of it, she drew herself up to her full sight. A full height that, in any other place, might have her stick out like a sore thumb. Indeed, if she was wearing a dress elsewhere, she would be a head above everyone else at homecoming.
And it was good that she wasn't there, because otherwise she wouldn't be able to do this. And she lit the fuse.
You have to keep going.
I know. I'm pausing for dramatic effect.
Loves dramatic pauses.
She loves a dramatic pause.
The fuse began to sizzle and shake. And it was then that she revealed the lockpick.
Holding it high in her hand, she knew she was prepared. Everyone knows that behind you, once you've entered a car such as this, it'll lock behind you. That's just how boxcars work.
And as the fuse sizzled, very coolly, very calmly, she turned to the door and began to unlock it, twisting this way and that inside the lock, carefully, until she heard the tumbler click. The door opened swiftly, but not swiftly enough. Time had run thin as she saw who was there but the king's guard. Their ears were perked. They said, "Listen."
Listen here, young lady, they said. We've caught you. We knew about your plan all along. We followed you to this place because you are useful to us. The king could never take all the treasures that lie within the train, but if they were to believe, they'd all just been destroyed or stolen by a young ragamuffin like yourself, and we might get out just fine. You say a word, and your father will lose his job driving the royal train. You understand? She stepped down and slid the lockpick into her pocket.
She cocked her head, knowing that anything that could be spoken could be important. Anything that happened could be the next thing, the next moment that would define the rest of her life. Anything, as long as she would hear. And so the king turned to her and said, "You felt this was something that you could have. You thought that after coming home, you would find yourself with a trove just to your own. You thought that in this final car of this train, that in this place."
She walked, took 2 steps away from the boxcar.
I did not think about anything that you speak of. Because what you don't see is the fuse that I've lit is not to blow up your treasure, but is simply to ignite a device of my own that I hid here in your boxcar. The royal boxcar that you think so many know of, and that you have kept solely for yourself, trying to hide away these treasures that belong to the people. And this device here in this keep will expose you.
The device went off. A rocket ship began to blast off from underneath the car, and she jumped on board. Your treasures are mine! She yelled to the king as it took off, soaring up into the air. A beautiful shape, soaring across the town, and the folks at homecoming looked up, aghast, astonished at this.
Would hang out with Evelyn. She seems like a cool character that we made.
She's got something going on.
Yep. Let's see. Are we back? We're slightly frozen, but I think we're like slowly moving. You're getting lag and repeating lines. That might have just been us repeating the lines.
Yeah, we just say the same thing, the same thing, the same thing, the same thing over and over again here.
Are
Oh.
we back? Did you guys hear the end? Team rocket ship blasting off again.
Evelyn blasts off in a rocket ship, circles around town, calls out through its open window
I'm
that she will
telling.
that
Yeah.
she will tell all of you that she planned this from the start, her grand treasure, her grand scheme. You only hearing this now as confidant.
Don't forget that it was a secret. That was my
Yeah.
favorite part. That she said, "I'm telling you all this."
I think she implied that the whole town was going to be hers, or maybe just all the treasure. And then she screamed it out of the rocket ship, saying it was a secret.
That is how it's done. I'm pretty
And
sure
she
that is.
winked.
Yeah. Sometimes you wink, sometimes you have a secret, sometimes you tell the whole town, look, if you got a secret, what's the fun of that unless you're going to tell everyone? It's not just something that you keep.
Yeah, secrets are the most fun to tell. That does make sense.
Yeah.
And so are lies. Thanks for joining us today for another episode of Lies You'll Enjoy, where we tell a bunch of stories, sometimes very silly, with our dear friends. Folks, as we sign off for the evening, I am going to ask Amanda our classic question as the most internet personality of any of us. Do you have anything you want to plug today?
Me, I have a video that just went up on YouTube. It is my review of the first 3 episodes of Dandadan. So if you have been loving Dandadan on Netflix, it's an anime. It's really fun. Season 2 just started, and I watched the movie in theaters, which is actually just the first 3 episodes, like the first arc. So my review went up, and I would highly recommend you check it out, whether you've seen Dandadan or not. It's just a really good anime. That's what I have to say about that. I will be back on stream on Thursday talking comics in the evening, and I'll also have seen Superman at that point. So we'll also probably be talking about Superman. So if you're into that, James Gunn Superman. So if you're into that, come by, say hi.
I heard some people in
Make a
chat are
night be a
excited
night.
about it.
Oh, yeah. People are hyped. I'm hyped. I actually just ordered a wig that I'm
Ooh.
gonna try to kind of do a little bit of like a Lois Lane vibe. I have a purple suit that I just own in my closet, so I'm gonna do kind of like a closet cosplay. Lois usually wears purple suits, and I have purple contacts, so I'm gonna do a little bit more of a comic book inspired Lois Lane. So stay tuned for that. Should be fun.
Cool.
How about you guys? Anything to plug? I do things on the internet, but you also do cool things, and I feel like people would want to hear about them if there's anything you've going on, especially in the RPG world.
Fair enough. I guess I will say Indie Press Revolution just did a restock of my games. So if anybody was looking for a physical copy of Sock Puppets or The Hourglass Sings and you thought, oh, shucks, I can't get it. Well, you can. My silly game about sock puppets and my serious game about The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask both are available if you want to get them, play them, do whatever you want with them. But not a whole lot other than that. I guess I'll do one more shout out. Last week, we overlapped with a stream 2 weeks ago, I guess, where some folks were playing sock puppets. That playthrough is up on YouTube now. You can watch it at Moonshot Network. Just type in Moonshot Network sock puppets, and there you go. You'll have that live playthrough. It is extremely funny, and there's this critical moment when they show each other the puppets they made. I won't spoil it for you. It is extremely funny. They hadn't seen each other's puppets before, and oh my God. But there are no other big things from me right now, folks. So I suppose I will simply say thank you for joining us, Anthony,
Yeah.
and know what you do while we do these sign-offs.
You do. I'm gonna suggest that for those of us who still have an appetite for a bit more tabletop role-playing games, gonna send us on over to Shattered Tabletop Gaming. They're a tabletop game company. They made a game called Shattered Dawn, which is like a storytelling centered
Dawn?
tabletop role-playing game. And I think right now they're playing Glitter Hearts, as far as I can tell, which is a cool magical girl TTRPG.
Love Magical
So
Girl TTRPGs.
let's head over there, spread some love, maybe ask them to send us a game, and maybe we'll play it. Yeah, thank you all for joining us. We will be back hopefully next week, and we will be playing more games.
Yeah, we
Yes.
will.
See you then. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, guys.
Bye.